Hi there, I'm Graham Fitch and welcome to this live practice clinic from icy cold London here. And let me just explain how this works. Subscribers to the online academy can send in questions and related to practice, but it often spills over into technical things or stylistic things. But the idea is that it's related to what we do day by day in our practice to learn pieces and solve problems. So people send in the questions in advance and I aim to address them right here. So we've got 4 questions today. If I could first of all just welcome you, whoever is watching there, you will, if you're watching it on Facebook, please do click all the nice buttons, we like the red one there, and like it. And if you're watching on YouTube after the event, please do subscribe and click on the notifications so you'll see everything that we're doing as the new videos come out, and we publish videos very regularly. So on to the questions. The first question comes from Alice, who says this: 3 questions have been haunting me, and she refers to the Clementi Sonatina in C, Opus 36, number 1, specifically the second movement. And she says that she has a collapsed left hand knuckle bridge that causes tension in her left hand. How to cure this? Well, the first thing I'd like to say is it's not possible in a clinic such as this, without me having met with you or seen you, to actually fix something. And I would say there are certain things that need to be addressed by a qualified and experienced piano teacher in your area who you can go and visit with or arrange an online lesson with to address this specific issue. It would be irresponsible of me to think that I can wave a magic wand in this clinic and fix your problem there, Alice. But there's a few things I can suggest. Now, the thing with hand positions, it's actually really simple to find your hand position. There's nothing mystical about it or mysterious about it. All you have to do is to stand up. I'm not going to do that here because I'll go out of camera. But I'm sitting right on the edge of my piano stool here and I'm swinging my right arm. I'm using my right arm rather than my left because you wouldn't be able to see my left, but of course it works the same for both hands. So I'm swinging my arm by my side nice and freely, and then when I'm ready I will just simply bring my hand up to the keyboard, and you should notice there that the hand is in a perfect position for piano playing. The knuckles are in their right places, everything's aligned. I'm neither curled up here or flat and straight. See, when I straighten my fingers, I collapse my bridge there, and that's going to be impossible to play anything that moves fast. We can use a flatter finger, and we tend to use a flatter finger for cantabile melodic lines, but when we're talking about intricate passages or anything that moves, we want to have that supported finger, the curved finger, but not the curled up finger. So the first thing is just swing your arm by your side and then just land in a few notes on the keyboard. I'm just landing on my 3rd finger there. And do you see what I'm doing here? I'm just dropping my forearm into the keyboard. 2nd finger, 2nd and 4th. Just move that around a little bit and experience that nice drop. And all I'm doing here is balancing on my fingers. I'm not pushing into the keys, and there's no need to change my absolutely natural hand position that we just discovered. 2 and 5. See if you can land in a chord. 1, 3, 5. I'm very balanced here. Now, in the left hand of this particular sonatina, the 2nd movement, let me just show you, so that in case you're wondering how it sounds, let me play a little. One thing I'm doing that's keeping me very nice and free is moving, and it's known as a wrist circle in the left hand. It's just jargon, really. The wrist circle, it's some people experience the movement from their wrist, but it's really the whole arm is moving. And if you look at the movement, you see how that works. The pinky side of the hand comes up, right? So I'm thinking, instead of going down into the key, I'm thinking of coming up and round. Then I drop down on my thumb, up. So if you want to get the sense of that, just take 1 and 5, drop into 1, and rise up and release 5, and then put the middle finger in, the third finger. Then reduce that movement until it's just ticking away like an engine that steers or drives the hand. This motion rather than finger movements. So if you try and do that with the fingers, you're going to get, it's not going to be coordinated enough, and what you'll find happens is you start building intention. If you spin here, there should be no need for any tension to arise. Similarly in my right hand, if you look, when I get to, where is this now, bar, this edition doesn't have bar numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bar 7, this kind of pattern. Not this. Not only does that sound clangy and notey, it feels quite tight. But if I would circle up on my pinky notes, up, and then round on the pinky, do you see how that moves? So I think that would address the first part of your question. Alice then goes on to ask, how do I control the arm weight and the arm weight transfer? Now that's a bit of a loaded question, because it really depends on what you mean by that. Lots of people mean different things by it. But if we take the right hand melodic line, I would want to drop in from the key surface. I'd want to drop my arm down and then rise up here. So what people usually mean by transfer of weight is this kind of situation. Let me just take a 5-finger position so I can show you how this works. I've got a whole tone position here. What I do is, when I want to play my second finger, rather than playing finger, I just move my center of gravity over to the second finger. I'm now behind it. It's a little bit like if you stand up and put your weight on one leg, the other leg is still on the floor, but your weight is on let's say the left leg, and then you transfer that weight across to the right leg. It's a similar kind of situation. There's a little bit of movement there across, another bit of movement here. So rather than operating the keyboard by levers with the fingers like this, I'm moving like this, and that's weight transfer in a nutshell. The third question here is how to align the breathing with the playing, how to practice this. Well, I don't think we need to get too strung up on that, actually, if I'm to be honest with you. We do need to make sure that we breathe when we play, of course, just as in every other aspect of life. Breathing is a good thing. Whether we breathe through our nose, I read something yesterday on my Facebook wall. Somebody was suggesting that when we play an instrument, we're better off breathing through the mouth. I've never really considered that. I think whatever is natural to us, but as long as we are breathing, and occasionally checking in with our breath, I don't think you need to worry about it any more than that. I couldn't really see, you did send a little video, I couldn't really see terribly clearly what you were doing there, Alice. It didn't look too bad at all. Probably more in your mind that it's not working for you, but it didn't look as though there were any obvious problems there. But do consult with a teacher, because these things are very important. The second question comes to us from Nesta May, who says this: please help with Mozart Allegretto, the London Sketchbook K15HH. Right, and then Nesta May talks about specific bars, the trill in bar 29 and the fingering on the bass clef. Let's have a look. Let me just play that so you can hear what this is about. Some of the questions relate to articulation from what I can see here. I find the move from bars 29 to 30 sounds detached. Well, the thing is, there's nothing here to tell us to join. Mozart hasn't written one single slur in this piece, which means that it's up to us whether we connect, disconnect, articulate So let me just play. This is just a bunch of eighth notes, quavers in 3/8. So 3/8 implies something a little light. See, some notes I'm playing longer and some notes I'm playing short. That's obviously got to be short because it's a repeated note. The left hand, I could, if I wanted to, play legato. And perhaps separate where the intervals are bigger. Or I could skip along through that and put the occasional slur in. So there's no absolute necessity for this to be legato at all. Now the spot that you're mentioning here, Nestame, let's just look, is where the left hand comes in. Now I've got here, I'm not going to tell you which edition it is, but it's an elite Urtext edition with fingering that I happen not to like for my hand. Now I'm looking at bar, let's just go into perhaps bar 25 where the pattern changes. The left hand here, separate here. Now the fingering, as I said, the fingering that's given in this edition is absolutely not carved in stone, although it looks like it is, because here we have an elite Urtext edition, one of the most famous Urtext editions, with fingering by one person, supposedly for the average hand. Let me just look at this fingering. 4, thumb, which puts a weak finger 5 down here. So those 3 notes, this editor is suggesting that we use a 5-4-3, but I prefer 4-3-2. That for me is a stronger feeling in my hand. So I've tweaked the fingering to arrive on a 2 on the E, to put my thumb on the D, right? And then 1-4, 1-5. And provided I'm moving well on my keyboard, that fingering feels really natural. Similarly in the right hand, this editor thinks to use 2, presumably here also, but there's no need to do that. You could just use reuse 1. It's much more economical. The movements end up being much more economical. So whenever we've got a spot like this that causes us issues, I would suggest quarantining this spot. Draw a little square bracket in pencil around those few bars, and before you start from the beginning, do a little bit of work on that spot. Play left hand by itself, very slowly, with shape. As though that were a cello line. And stop there, okay? When you put it together, work in bar units. Play just 1 bar. Work on that until you're very comfortable. When you're happy with that 1 bar and you can sign it off, start from the note that you finished on and work on that bar, and then chain together the 2 bars and then work on the next couple of bars. That sort of thing. So if we look at the bar with the trill, which is bars 29 into 30, doesn't it? Is that right? You do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 29 into 30. I could just do a short, snappy kind of trill, which is a 4-note E, but I separate the E from the D. If I wanted to, and if I felt like I'd got time, I could put a termination. If I didn't have time to do that and I still wanted the termination, I might just do a turn. So there's no absolute. We do really want to start the trill from the upper note on an F, but we we could get away with a 3-note job if you wanted to do that as a little snap, a schneller. Okay, now the fingering in the bar after. Nestor says, in bar 30, both hands play the D, question mark. Yes, if you think of this as two instruments, violin, one, cello, we do have to reuse that same key that we've just played. So then what we can do in situations like that, since we've got a long note in the right hand, when I take it with the left hand, just hold it on a little longer. And rather than doing this really contorted fingering that I see in the edition, 1, 3, 5, that's going to scrunch up the hand and cause tension, in my opinion. I would just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then jump from the 3 to the thumb. Just move the arm across. There are other possible fingerings. You could do 1, 4, 5. And as I was noodling with this just before I came online here, I discovered that if you really wanted to avoid an issue there, you could replay the D with the right hand, perhaps using a different finger. So 1, 2, hold on to that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the left hand. So you could find a solution there that feels good to you. But please don't play it all, don't aim to play this all legato, nor all staccato. See if you can find a happy medium. Nestor requests that I play bars 47 to 62 because she just wants to hear the rhythm between the treble and the bass clefs. Okay, well, happy to oblige. Here we go into F minor. So we wound up in F major here. And then no dynamics here either. So what do? Play one dynamic? Of course not. It's up to us to add our own dynamics. So this F minor section could be more intense. It could be firmer. Break. Separate those right. I would separate these right hands, the sevenths, diminished sevenths, but connect. Can you feel the breath at the end of the phrase? Release. Legato here. And probably a little lift here. Breathe. And then we go back home. If you wanted to play that softer, that section, you could also do that. That would mean if I played my end here. If you felt pathos there rather than passion, absolutely play it softer. It doesn't matter which way you do it as long as you change your colour. I think that's what's important. Change the sound. Blocks of sound, blocks of dynamics, and within that crescendos, diminuendos, little hairpins that we use to make music expressive. Okay, Robin is confused by the pedal markings in Schumann's Einsame Blumen, solitary flowers. Yeah, this is the most exquisite little piece. I just love this piece because it's actually not difficult, and yet it's difficult. By which I mean, it takes artistry and imagination to play this piece. The technical requirements are not particularly high, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't stop it from being a beautiful piece of music that's worthy of inclusion in any pianist's repertoire. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a concert virtuoso and play this as an encore and just wow people by the sheer beauty of this music. Let me just play you a little bit of it because Robin's questions relate to pedaling and the confusion between seeing a rest between these two. It's written like that with separation in the left hand, and yet we find a pedal mark that goes through not only from beat to beat but from bar to bar, blending those two sounds into one harmony. So very often we find rests, and they don't mean literal silence. It often means don't play anything on that beat, but catch the resonance. Play with the weight of a quaver, with the delicacy of a staccato quaver. Just there, sorry. But let the pedal pick up that resonance. Isn't that gorgeous? So what I'm required to do, if I look at this pedaling that comes actually from Clara Schumann, she's even finds it acceptable, and I totally agree, to have an appoggiatura and its resolution in the one pedal. Normally we avoid that, especially in classical period music. We wouldn't really want to do that. But it works very well here because of the thinness of the texture. And if you look at bar 4, we've got a clash here, and then the resolution of the A to the G, which when I add my left hand is perfectly acceptable to play in one pedal. Otherwise it sounds rather dry. If I change pedal on each beat, end up losing my bass note. There's the bass note, there's the harmony note. Bass, harmony. So the object of the pedaling is to capture the resonance of the bass and the harmony together, but to play lightly with the staccato, because the touch shows up through the pedal. This is the important thing to remember about piano sound, that if we see a staccato note, it doesn't necessarily mean that we avoid the pedal at all. Okay, what do rests mean if we... yes, I think I've addressed that. I think that will answer your question there, Robin. Oh, I hope it does anyway. If you look at the next section, the middle section from round about bar 19, the pedaling here, there is no pedaling marked. And we often find this. What does it mean? Not, don't pedal? Of course not. It means pedal normally, pedal as you want. There, we definitely need a new pedal on the second beat. Different harmony. And when I find dissonance in the left hand in this register, that's not acceptable in that register of the instrument as it was here. I've got the same notes. Well, not actually the same notes, the same pattern. So bar 4, that works very well, but bar 22, not at all, because it's lower down. So we have to be careful with our pedal there. I'm even just laying off a bit and change, and then putting the pedal down when I get to the A. It's very subtle pedaling, but it works nicely. Change, 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 change. So in the middle section, where there is no pedaling marked, in those bars anyway, we just pedal ordinarily, in other words, as we see fit. And our last question comes from David, who is struggling with, he says here, there is one spot in Liszt's Un Sospiro study, bar 30, etc., where my right hand seizes up every time. I can't seem to play the rising arpeggio without stiffening my arm muscles, and it always sounds a mess. Please help! Exclamation mark. Okay, well, the bar that David is talking about, let me see if I can do it. This spot, let me do that bar better. One pedal for that half bar. The second half bar. I'm skipping across just for a moment to bar 31, So this little semi-quaver, 16th note in the left hand is a harmony. It doesn't mean that, it means make harmony out of it. Same there. And bar 30, obviously all in one pedal. There's another very good example of where a composer has written rests. Let me show you them. I wonder if you can see. There are rests there in the left hand where my second finger is, but the pedal is for the whole bar. Yeah, because we want to make resonance that keeps this bass. Now it should be a little quicker, that kind of speed. And I can help you, I think, with this. This is both a practice issue and a technique issue, which come down to the same thing. Practicing is technique. Practice know-how is technique. So if we look at the rising arpeggio, let me just remove my left hand from the story here and just do it slowly. Now the first thing I feel is that it is my arm that is steering me up the keyboard. So my arm leads the hand. Now, okay, there are a couple of things to say about this. I would release the fourth finger before the fifth finger. I've got to play here 4 and 5 together, but I want to release 4 and then rotate across. My thumb will rotate into the A, and I'm aiming to catch the key before it comes all the way back up to the top. So in other words, not this. I haven't got time to lift, and it could be that's causing you to feel uncoordinated. So what I would first do, I would suggest omitting the fourth finger, and see if you can feel that rotational movement from the 5 to the 1. The thumb steals the fifth finger's note without actually lifting up. It's a wonderful feeling. A little bit like... the Chopin Étude, the so-called Ocean Étude. Same sort of sensation in the hand. Just a release, a hinge over the pinky, and let the thumb drop into the key. So when I do add my fourth finger, the fourth finger comes up just very slightly ahead of the pinky finger. Okay, there's just one other thing I think that would help. You can practice, by the way, this is a useful thing to practice. If I go back a step to where I was suggesting to omit the fourth finger, practice tying the pinky to the thumb. Tie, tie. You can do it coming down as well. And then, see there, I'm kind of aiming to tie the repeated note to itself. Catch the key before it comes up. Yes, there was just something I wanted to suggest about the top. I wonder if you can see the top there. Let me just do it an octave lower. So I'm in bar 30 at the top of the arpeggio, but an octave lower, because I don't think my camera is going to pick up the high octave. Do you see how I come round in my arm? So when I play my 2 repeated notes there, I'm aiming to use 2 different spots on the key surface. A low position and a higher position. The lower position is on the far edge of the key. The repetition is slightly ahead of that. Yeah, if I try and do it in the same position, I feel vertical movements. I don't want to feel a vertical movement. I want to feel a release, a propulsion away from my 5 and 4. It's a little bit like when we get to the top of a regular arpeggio. I want to round that motion rather than stop my arm. I don't want that. Same kind of idea. So I hope that will help you, David. And that's the last question in the end of January's practice clinic. I hope that was helpful to you, and that's me done for the day, for the month. I'll see you in February. Thanks for being here, and thank you for your questions. See you soon.